There is a sentence buried in today's sky that most horoscopes for Aries will skip entirely, and it is the one that actually matters. The door you have been quietly slipping through, alone, for longer than you would admit, that door does not lead back to a hallway anymore. It leads somewhere new. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will understand exactly why. For a while now, something has been circling. Call it a loop, a pattern, a private room you kept returning to. In Western psychological astrology, this reads as an outer planet cycle, finally releasing its grip on your 12th house of solitude and the unconscious, the part of the chart tied to retreat, to hidden processing, to the self you only meet when no one else is watching. That circuit, the one that kept pulling you back into the same isolated corner, no matter how far you thought you had traveled, is loosening. Some Aries natives have felt this as an actual address change, leaving a shared household for a place of their own. Others feel it more quietly, through therapy, meditation, tarot, mediums, religion, or simply learning to sit with themselves without flinching. The repetition, the revolving door quality of it, is easing. What is different now is that the door does not swing back shut behind you the way it used to. Layered on top of that slower, deeper shift is today's faster-moving weather. The moon is active in your 11th house of community and forms a trine to Mars in your 3rd house of communication, a supportive, flowing aspect in Western terms, meaning conversation and connection move with unusual ease today. Group chats, quick calls, a friend floating an idea. This configuration tends to accelerate plans rather than complicate them. Meanwhile, in Vedic or sidereal tradition, some calculations place the moon closer to Capricorn, a placement associated with friction near home or work, particularly if people around you are already frayed. Here is the first thing that makes today genuinely rare. Both readings can be true at once. The Western trine says your outer world, your network, your voice, all of it flows easily today. The Vedic placement says your inner circle, the people closest to you, might be carrying tension that has nothing to do with you, but still brushes up against your day. Two lenses, same sky, two different rooms of your life lighting up. Pattern interrupt. Curiosity bridge. But here is what almost gets lost when people read these as contradictory. They are not. They are sequential. You may have noticed that the friction, if it shows up today, tends to arrive first, a short-tempered exchange at home, a colleague on edge, a small domestic snag, and that it passes faster than expected. That is the Capricorn moon weather, doing what tense lunar transits typically do. They test your composure, not your competence. Brush past it. Stay task-focused. Get through what is actually in front of you, and let the people who care about you show up. Because this configuration also tends to reveal who is steady when things wobble. Then, as the day opens up, the second energy takes over, the trine between Moon and Mars, and this is where your instinct to reach out pays off. A conversation with a friend or teammate today carries real traction. You do not need to manufacture it or force a big move. Name what you want clearly, invite 1 or 2 people into the next step, and let the momentum build on its own. If you are also relating to this through a work or professional network right now, the same aspect supports outreach, a message to someone influential, a new contact, a direct ask instead of a roundabout one. You genuinely do not have the bandwidth today for people who are not aligned with where you are headed. And that is not coldness, it is clarity. Pattern interrupt. Reflection pause. Take a breath here, because this next part connects everything. Picture a house you have been slowly renovating alone, room by room, without ever showing anyone the blueprints. That is what the deeper, slower shift has felt like: private work, unwitnessed, unorthodox, sometimes strange to outsiders if they ever saw it. Tay's faster lunar weather does not undo that privacy. It just opens one window. You get to test, in a small, low-stakes way, whether the version of you that has been quietly rebuilding can now speak, connect, and lead without the old anxiety of being pulled back into repetition. Early signs suggest yes. On the love front, this is not a day defined by grand romantic gestures, and that is actually good news. The energy leans more toward honest, direct conversation than performance. If you are partnered, a straightforward exchange about a shared goal or a mutual friend group activity may land better than a heavier, emotional talk. The Moon-Mars trine favors clarity and momentum over intensity. If tension flares at home, as the Capricorn tone moon suggests it might for some, it is worth remembering this is temporary weather, not a verdict on the relationship. Single Aries may find that connections made through friend circles or community settings today carry more genuine spark than one made in isolation. The through line across every tradition here is the same. Today rewards reaching outward through people you already trust, rather than trying to force a new connection into being. Pattern interrupt. Contrast shift. That domestic tension I mentioned earlier, it sounds like a warning. It is actually a filter. At work, the same clarity applies. This is a favorable stretch for initiating rather than waiting, naming a goal to your team, proposing the next step, reaching out to someone whose opinion carries weight. The direct approach outperforms the cautious one today. But there is a caution worth naming. Avoid rash decisions or unnecessary confrontations, especially if the earlier domestic friction has left you carrying some irritation into your work hours. Patience and self-control are not passive qualities today. They are strategic ones. If you have been sitting on an idea for a long-term project, something you have wanted to build for a while, this is a genuinely good window to start sketching the outline, even if execution comes later. That instinct to plan long-term rather than react short-term carries directly into money matters too. Nothing in today's sky points to major financial upheaval, but the same communicative ease that is helping your career conversations can also open a door on the financial side, a useful introduction, a piece of information from your network, a contact who knows something you do not. The advice holds. Do not waste energy chasing people or opportunities that are not aligned with your actual direction. Direct, efficient use of your time serves you better than casting a wide net today. Pattern interrupt, direct address. If you have been feeling like you're solo, behind-the-scenes work finally deserves a wider audience, pay attention to this next part, because it is the heart of today. Here is what makes today genuinely rare for you. You are standing at the exact intersection of a long private cycle ending and a short, socially favorable window opening on the same day. Most people experience these as separate chapters, years of quiet inner work. Then, much later, a moment of visibility. You are getting a preview of both in the same 24 hours. What that means practically is this: the unorthodox, hush-hush experiments you have been running on yourself, the meditation, the therapy, the tarot, the solitary reinvention, do not have to stay hidden anymore out of fear that they will pull you back into old patterns. You can let a little of that new self show up in a conversation today, and it will not trigger the revolving door it once might have. Most people will scroll past that idea. You will not, because you have lived the before version of it. That insight matters for your health too. Being in the moment rather than anxious about past patterns or future outcomes is less a platitude right now than an actual practice worth trying today. Direct your motivation towards sustainable habits rather than dramatic overhauls, a walk, a consistent sleep window, one meal cooked with intention. If tension from earlier in the day has settled into your shoulders or your stomach, that is the Capricorn moon friction leaving its physical residue. A few minutes of quiet breathing or a short walk tends to clear it faster than pushing through. Some Vedic practitioners associate today's tense lunar placement with Saturn-adjacent themes of restriction and may suggest remedies such as specific colors or mantras for individuals whose birth charts support them. This is not universal advice, and any deeper remedy work, gemstone or otherwise, genuinely requires a personal chart reading rather than a blanket recommendation. What is universally safe is this. If avoiding a certain color or taking a quiet walk between 4 and 6 this afternoon feels good to you, there is no harm in it, and some traditions consider that window particularly favorable for you today. Pattern interrupt. Preview, teaser. We will close with your action steps in a moment, but first, home and family deserve one honest word. If tension does surface with someone close to you today, resist the urge to take it personally or to fix it immediately. The support of family and friends becomes more visible later in the day than it is in the morning, so patience here is genuinely rewarded rather than just recommended. Socially, this is a stronger day for groups than for one-on-one deep talks. The community-oriented lunar energy favors a shared activity, a team effort, a collective goal over a solitary heart-to-heart. If travel comes up today, nothing in the sky flags major disruption, but the same advice about patience applies to delays or logistics. Spiritually, this is a quietly rich day precisely because of that long private cycle finally easing its grip. Even 5 minutes of stillness tonight, reflecting on how far that inner renovation has come, tends to land differently than it would have a year ago. If you want a quick read on the day's flavor, favor direct conversation over indirect requests. Lean into group settings rather than isolation. Treat the window between 4 and 6 this afternoon as a good stretch for anything requiring calm focus. And if a color feels like it is working against you today, there is no cost to simply avoiding it. Your action plan for today is simple. Say the goal out loud to the people already on your side instead of carrying it alone. Let any early friction pass without absorbing it as truth about your relationships. Choose one small, sustainable health habit over a dramatic promise you will not keep. And if there is a piece of the private work you have been doing quietly, consider letting just one trusted person see a little of it today. The door, as we have established, does not revolve shut anymore. That is not a small shift. That is the whole story of your sky today, and it is one worth sitting with, sharing, or coming back to tomorrow to see how it unfolded.